Now today we have a special episode. We're going to be talking about relationship anxiety and fear of intimacy. Now, wanting to be in a relationship but having some of those blocks, those fears. This is not uncommon. Many people struggle with this sort of fear, and justly so, because if you open up to someone, you are taking a risk of getting hurt. You're putting yourself forward out there. But let's consider the alternative. What's the alternative to this fear? And that, in my eyes, is to remain alone for the rest of your life. Now, that may seem like nothing significant, but as you get older, you realize that this fear of ending up alone is like a gloomy cloud over your head that is just getting bigger and bigger. And that is scary. Who do you share your life with? I mean, which of these two fears is greater? Which is more significant? I mean, it's fine if you're comfortable with that, but if you're not, you need to decide which is the better option. Now, when it comes to anxiety, it is either due to the fear of failure, or it may be rooted in something deeper, like, for instance, your trust has been taken advantage of in the past, be it another type of a relationship, if this would be your first relationship, or you've burned yourself in another intimate relationship in the past. Now, trust has two sides to it, if we look at trust first. When you start dating, you trust because you're naive and you don't know any better. I mean, there is nothing to create a feeling of mistrust without having had the experience in the first place. Now, there is the other side of the coin. When it comes to the next relationship, you trust because of your choice to do so. It's a calculated risk that you're taking. Not because you're naive, but because you're brave and you know that there is much that you can gain if you trust the other person. It's your courageous decision, knowing that if you trust, you can have an impact and benefit from having the other person in your life. Does this remove some of the fear? Sure, it can. At the same time, maybe it should never really, maybe you should never really let go of it. Maybe it's good that you have something that keeps you on your toes, knowing that relationships are not set in stone, that they require work. It's reasonable, isn't it? Especially if you consider all of the benefits of being in an intimate relationship with someone. When you share your life, your struggles and your victories with somebody. Now, if you're thinking that your anxiety is rooted in the thought of a man taking care of you and you having to cede some of the control to create room for intimacy or give up your freedom for a woman, if that is what you're thinking about as the thing that scares you, well, maybe you need to reconsider how you are thinking about these things, because it seems to me that you think relationships are about control. And if that is the initial position that you're coming from, then you've got a problem. And I don't know about you, but having to negotiate things, to discuss things, to compromise, none of those things are about control or ceding control or giving up freedom. It's negotiation in its basic form. The way we experience it with everything in life. Even when you're crossing the road, you negotiate it. You have the lights, cars, timing, distance that needs to be crossed. Everything is a negotiation, and yet, do you ever feel like you're ceding control? And when it comes to relationships, it's actually even better than that. Sure, you need to discuss things, compromise, or at least talk about your opinions and proposals, but isn't that better to have somebody to have the other perspective, somebody who can shed more light on things and either validate your opinions and choices, help you understand the negatives, or reveal possibilities that you have not even seen before? To me, that's the advantage. It's always better to go through things in life with another person than alone, don't you think? It's definitely not about ceding control. It's not about that. The essence of an intimate relationship should be truthful negotiation and not control or power. If that is what you have experience with or have struggled with, then check out one of these videos up here. So maybe you're afraid because you simply have a misapprehension about what an optimal relationship or a reasonable intimate relationship would be. And look, if you are worried about the other person, that they will be taking care of you, then if you remove your power struggle related fears, then surely having somebody look after you is a good thing. If it's a good thing for one, then surely it's, just fair that it's reciprocal dynamic between you and your partner. And look, I'm not saying that you will never argue, but any power struggle should be a byproduct of the dynamic between you and your partner, not the basis of your relationship. And actually, one thing you should never do in a relationship is avoid conflict or pretend that you are something other than you actually are, because then you won't cede control and you will not fall prey to some futile or pathological power dynamic or toxic relationships, which often happens with people when they pretend that they are something else or let the resentment build up. So if you have anxiety of intimacy, fear of relationships, slow things down and take them one step at a time. And if someone is not able to accommodate your pace, then give them up. Don't pretend and don't waste your time. Obviously, be realistic about your own issues and insecurities and demands, but don't push for things that will cause you issues in the future or will be the basis of another toxic relationship. But most of all, don't be scared to try. Take things slow, but take them in a specific direction. Time is one thing that none of us will ever get back. It's one thing that we waste all the time, so don't waste it. Push it, try, attempt. Take things in the direction that you want and never stop trying.